Nadira was the kind of woman who made head turn wherever she went. Men followed her with their eyes. They sent her flowers, bought her gifts, and whispered promises of forever. But Nadira never chose easily. She tested every man she come across. One man took her to dinner. That night, she pretended to fall asleep with her makeup on. In the morning, he laughed and said, "You don't need all that paint on your face. I want to see the real you." Nadira smiled politely, but inside she was done with him. She never called him again. Another invited her to the water in the beach. She shook her head, saying she didn't like water. He teased her and tried to pull her in anyway. That was the last time she answered his message. And then they were the ones who begged to see her natural face. The moment they asked, she closed her heart to them. For Nadira, there was one rule. No one could ever see her without makeup. People thought she was just proud, maybe a little vain, but to Nadira, her makeup was not just a beauty, it was her shield. And so she remained the mystery every man wanted to solve, but none could ever touch. Nadira's makeup table was like a small shop. Powders, brushes, lipsticks, creams, lined up neatly, shining under a lamp. Every morning, every night, she sat there, painting her face with the same careful hand. She wore makeup to the market. She wore makeup when she slept. Even when she was sick in bed, she asked for a mirror and powder before anyone could see her. To Nadira, a face without makeup did not exist. It was not part of the world. Sometimes she would stare at herself in the mirrors for hours. Her smooth cheeks, her bright lips, her long lashes. She whispered to the reflection, "This is me. This is who they love. If I lose this, I lose everything." Her friends joke about it. One day, Nadira would be buried with her makeup still on. She only laughed and said nothing. But deep inside, the thought of anyone seeing her bare face filled her with fear. Her beauty was her power, her mask, her life. Among all the men, one was different. His name was Omar. He was older than most, calm and gentle. He did not brush her with gifts or silly promises. Instead, he listened when she spoke. He asked about her dreams, not just her beauty. When he sent her letters, they were full of kind words. When they worked together, he never tried to touch her face. He never begged to see her without makeup. He simply held her hand and talked about life, about tomorrow, about building a home. This made Nadira feel safe. With Omar, she was not afraid. She thought, at last, someone who will not question me, someone who loves me as I am. And slowly, she began to love him back. Days turned into months. Nadira and Omar was always seen together. They ate at quiet places, walked in gardens, shared long talks under the night sky. Omar never hurried her. He never asked for more than she could give. And Nadira loved that about him. For Nadira, this was enough. She believed she had finally found the one man who would never leave her. So when Omar asked her to marry him, she did not hesitate. She said yes. Their wedding day came with laughter and music. The hall was filled with night. Nadira looked like a goddess. People whispered to each other, "How can she look so perfect?" Omar stood tall, smiling with pride. He took her hand as if she was the most precious gift on earth. The vows were said, the rings exchanged, and the crowd clapped with joy. Laughter, dancing, and cheers filled the air. By evening, when the guests were gone, the music faded and the lights grew dim. Nadira and Omar entered their room together, husband and wife at last. Now it was only Nadira and Omar in their new room, with soft lights and burning candles. Omar was filled with joy. He laughed as he lifted her in his arms, carrying her across the room. Nadira smiled but pulled her face slightly away whenever he leaned in too close. She had done this all her life. No one could touch her face. But Omar did not notice. He only laughed louder, saying, "Tonight is ours. I have waited so long and nothing else matters." Then it happened. His foot slipped on the long carpet. He lost his balance. In an instant, Omar fell, his head striking the edge of the wooden bed. The sound was heavy. He dropped to the floor and zoned out. His eyes closed. Nadira froze. For a moment, she could not breathe. Then the fear broke her. She dropped to her knees beside him, shaking. Her tears spilled down before she could stop them. They rolled across her cheeks, carrying tiny streaks of powder with them. Nadira pressed her hands against his wound, crying loudly, "Omar, wake up! Please don't leave me! Not tonight!" The room was quiet except for Nadira's cries. Her hands shook as she pressed them against Omar's head. Her tears fell faster, sliding down her cheeks, leaving dark, uneven lines where her powder began to wash away. She did not notice. For the first time in many years, she forgot about her face. All she saw was Omar lying still on the floor. "Please, God, not tonight," she whispered. "Don't take him from me. I can't be alone again. I can't." Then Omar groaned. His fingers moved. Slowly, his eyes opened. Nadira gasped with relief and leaned closer, but Omar's face suddenly changed. His weak eyes widened. His mouth trembled. "Nadira," he whispered, voice broken. What happened to you?" Nadira froze. Her heart stopped. She touched her cheek and felt it. Not smooth, not soft, but dry skin, lines, wrinkles. The powder was breaking. Her mask was gone. Omar stared, shocked, his chest rising and falling as he tried to make sense of the face before him. You are not," he stammered. How old are you?" Nadira covered her face with both hands and sobbed harder. Omar pushed himself up slowly. He could barely stand, but his eyes stayed fixed on her face. The young bride he had carried just a moment ago was gone. Before him was an old woman, skin wrinkled, lips trembling, head thin and grey, where the powder had cracked away. Omar's breath grew faster and shallow. He pressed his back against the wall as if trying to escape. His eyes darted to the door. No, this is not you," he whispered. "This can't be you." He tried to move towards the door, his body shaking, but his legs stumbled from the fall. Still, his fear pushed him. He reached for the handle. Nadira crawled across the room, clutching his leg. Her voice broke, heavy with tears. "Please, Omar, don't go. Don't leave me. I can't explain. But Omar's face showed nothing but horror. The woman he thought was young, beautiful, untouched by time, now looked older than his own mother. How is this possible?" he cried, his voice trembling. "What are you doing, Nadira?" She shook her head, still holding him tightly. "I'm still me. I am Nadira. Please, don't look at me like that." Her tears dripped onto the floor, and with each tear, more of her mask dissolved. Her true self was showing. The self she had hidden for decades. Omar's hand shook on the door handle. His chest rose and fell quickly, his eyes filled with fear. But Nadira clung to him, her voice cracking. "Please, listen to me before you run. I beg you. Omar, I am still the woman you loved. I am still Nadira." Omar turned his face away, but her tears and trembling voice forced him to pause. He sat back down to the floor, clutching his head, whispering, "This cannot be real. You were young, so young and beautiful." Nadira's hand trembled as she wiped her wet cheeks. Though the action only revealed more of her true self, deep lines, loose skins, the marks of a century lived. She took a deep breath, her voice heavy with pain. "It started when I was 35, she said softly. "I was engaged once. I thought I had found my love, but he left me for a younger woman. My heart broke. Omar, it shattered me. I could not eat. I could not sleep. I thought I would die." Her voice cracked. "One night, I wandered outside the city, crying like a fool. That is when I met her." an old woman, a witch. She looked into my eyes and said she knew my pain. She offered me a powder that would keep my youth, so no man would ever leave me again. Omar's lip parted in shock. He could not speak. Nadira continued. I was foolish. I took it. And from that day, all the men I dated, they grew old. They died. I dated them to know how it feels to be loved, to watch those men die before me, and I enjoyed it. But when you came, I loved only you. The rule of the powder is never to cry for anyone, no matter what. All the men that I've been with has died, but me, she touched her cracked cheek. I stayed the same until now. She leaned closer, her voice breaking into a sob. Do you understand, Omar? I could not stop. I could not be alone. The powder became my life. Without it, I am nothing. Without it, this is who I am. Omar stared at her in disbelief. His voice shook. You are not 25. You are... She nodded slowly, tears spilling again. I am 100 years. Silence filled the room. The candles flickered. Omar pressed his back against the wall, his face pale, his breath uneven. Nadira crawled closer, holding his hand tightly, her whole finger trembling against his skin. Please, Omar, don't leave me. You are all I have now. I don't want to be alone again. Omar's body shook as he pulled his hand away from Nadira's grip. His eyes were wide, his face pale. No, Nadira, he whispered, his voice breaking. This is not the woman I married. You lied to me. You hid yourself from me. Nadira reached to him again, crawling weakly across the room. Please, Omar, I did it because I was afraid of being left, afraid of being unloved. Don't leave me. Please, don't leave me. But Omar staggered back, pressing himself against the door, his eyes filled with sorrow and fear. I don't even know who you are. The word struck Nadira like a knife. Her chest rose and fell quickly as her sobs grew louder. And then something began to change. Her skin, already wrinkled, started to fold deeper. Her head thinned until a white strand fell to the floor. Her back bent more, her arms trembling as if carrying a weight. The powder, broken by her tears, was leaving her for good. Her youth, stolen for so many years, was gone. Omar watched in horror as his bride aged before his eyes. She aged more and more. 100, 200, 300. Each second stole more of her strength, more of her life. No, Nadira whispered, her voice dry and weak. Not yet. Please, not yet. She stretched her hand towards Omar, but stepped back again, his heart torn with fear and pity. The room grew cold. Finally, Nadira collapsed to the floor. Her face that of a frail old woman, her body trembling, her voice had dried, but her voice was still a whisper. I only wanted to be loved. I only wanted to never be alone. Her last sob broke the silence. Then she lay still. Omar stood frozen, staring at the lifeless, aged body of the woman who had once looked like a goddess. The wife he thought he knew was gone, or maybe she had never been there at all. And so, on their wedding night, what began as a dream ended in silence, tragedy, and shadows. The lesson learned from this story is, not all that glitters is gold. Nadira's beauty hid a painful truth, and when the mask broke, so did everything she tried to protect. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment down below what you think Nadira deserves.